What is good, everybody? Man, been up since like 3 a.m, making sure that this goes well. And so far, so good. Are we all wearing our emblem shirt as well?
No, bro, I didn't do it. Bro.
Where's the mythical?
Oh, I know. It was a busy morning.
Busy morning, man. Yeah, a lot of things go into play for this. I mean, we've been planning this launch and idea for 2 to 3 months already at this point in time. I'm happy to and excited to kind of share the vision as well as other teams see it as well. As you've seen Radium showing support because they're quite interested in this. There's a lot of creators from the AI sector, from the internet capital markets sector, and all over who also suffer similar issues that we have been facing in terms of launching a long-term project on Pump Fun and facing pretty big issues. So it's exciting to launch a platform called Migrate.fun. And actually, I think it's the first migration platform that I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of
the first. Jake never says the first.
I know.
This time he is saying the first.
So he never says the first. So
rarely ever. Yeah, rarely ever. I mean, I've done research and I've seen one-off platforms. I mean, Emblem's done like what 5 migrations at this point between different tokens and NFT migrations and stuff. So if anyone's going to launch it, it's literally going to be us.
It's got to be us, man.
It's got to be us. Face this so long and so forth. And Agent Hustle gets to be the first one down the pipeline of Migrate.
Why don't we start at the high level just so people understand what the heck's even happening? Because people listening for the first time probably have no idea what the heck's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to open up on the live stream. It is pinned up to the top. Actually, let me pin to the top. We're doing a live stream as well as the spaces that some people are in. So if you're interested, you could tune in to the live stream, or you can just hang out in spaces. So what is really going on here, right? What is Migrate.fun? What is Hustle? What is Tensorium? What the hell is going on here, to say the least? So the short version is Agent Hustle is a AI agent that allows you to trade on chain, analyze on chain, and so on and so forth. It's actually one of the most widely used agents in the space, with over 1 million prompts being issued since December 31st of last year. So in about 6 full months. So about 250,000 a month or 200,000 a month. We launched a token, excuse me. We launched a token for Agent Hustle on Pump Fun towards the end of last year in November. And at the time, it felt like the right decision. That was where all the hype was happening. But as long-term builders, we've come across tons of issues. Kind of the main points are that when you launch a project on Pump Fun, the LP is burned. So nobody has access to the rewards and the trading fees, which makes it very difficult for a builder to grow, right? It takes away a lot of the incentives, right? It takes away tokenomics, because if the creator owns the LP pool and gets the rewards, then you can offer token incentives, right? Because you want people then trading the token because the team is generating revenue based off of the LP. Without having access to that, you have to literally completely change your business model to things outside of the token because you're not generating revenue from it, right? So this is all the when tokenomics questions that people have continually asked. Another component of it is the token treasury itself, right? When you launch on Pump Fun, there is no option to hold back. You obviously have to buy some on the market, which is fine. But in many cases, for a lot of builders that we've talked with, they launched it as kind of an experiment, right? Or just launching it to see what happens, and snipers, pick up a lot of the supply, or the market kind of runs with it. And many teams, not just us, are sitting with 5% or less of the supply. And you can't really do anything with that, right? If the team doesn't have a treasury, the team has no runway. If the team has no runway, then there's no utility, there's no project, and it just stays as a meme coin. It never evolves. So Migrate.fun, helps alleviate both of those options, as well as giving a fresh life to the chart. Because if you look at literally every single Pump Fun chart, it goes gigantic up and gigantic down. And for 99.999% of those, they never, ever recover, like ever. So we started building this platform, or an idea. Essentially, we started building our own migration tool. And then we realized that many teams are in this situation, like literally dozens, if not hundreds. And, we reached out to Radium to get their interest in it. And they also have said that there's many teams that they've talked with who have very similar issues. So that's where you see their support from. And we're going to continue to grow the platform. Adam, would you like to have any input before I kind of dive into any more?
Yeah, I mean, so what this is basically, kind of high level, is we're going to be first through the door, taking the Tensor token and turning it into the Hustle token. And to do this, when we were originally going to do it, we're like, oh, we'll just do it one-off, but realized pretty quick, like, there is a need in the market for it. So we built a tool around it that's going to allow other teams to do it as well, and do it very easily, which is the main thing. So we're excited around it, not just to move, Tensor to Hustle. I think it's just going to be a better token, better ticker, better everything. But this is going to be great for other teams to give this a try too. Especially, I mean, when the token dies out and the team's like, what do we do now? Like, this is the perfect opportunity. Because what we're going to see, and we'll see with Hustle how it goes as the first through the door. But we anticipate that teams will be able to get basically claw back a bunch of tokens, which gives them brand new kind of fresh incentive to continue with their product or project. So we'll see how it goes. It's all kind of like theory right now, but we think it has a real interesting ability to impact the market and maybe actually help legit projects and help revive kind of dead projects. So yeah, it's going to be exciting to try it out.
Chris, any input?
Yeah, I think that this is much needed within the industry. You see, we've done a lot of migrations. There's a lot of reasons to migrate. A big reason is that, when you launch the token initially, oftentimes you put too much liquidity in the pool, and then the pool is just overflowing with liquidity. It's extremely hard to move the price one way or another. And you have just so much of that supply locked up that could be kind of utilized in better ways, like trying to get exchange listings or paying, other incentives to the community and things like that. I do know that everyone has a pretty short attention span. It is early, but what does it mean when it says that it's powered by Agent Hustle in the Migrate.fun bio? What does that mean?
Yeah, it just means that Agent Hustle is kind of the pioneer of this, and that there could be some further integrations as the Hustle token becomes embedded into Agent Hustle's products. You would want the Hustle token to be integrated into this platform.
Right. And if there are other teams, like you guys have said, are already lined up probably to migrate using the platform, does that benefit Hustle at all?
Yeah, there's a massive benefit to it. There's obviously a platform fee to it. There's exposure to Agent Hustle. And what we've learned, as we've been marketing this product for 6 months now, is the space is so nascent and so small that the tokenomics really haven't even been explored. And if you have a product line underneath the Agent Hustle brand that other people are using, they're going to find their way into the world of AI agents in the market. And the two main communities that we've heard, at least, I'm sure there's probably dozens of other types of communities out there as well, specifically on Solana, is the AI agent sector. All of the tokens that launched towards the end of last year that are long-term builders facing similar issues as us. And I've heard a handful of creators from the Believe app who launched through this launch pad, and they don't like the incentive structure and would like a fresh restart. So those are kind of two main communities: internet capital markets kind of community, as well as the AI sector.
100%.
And they will get exposure to Hustle because it'll be kind of branded as his product line.
Yep. So it's really good exposure for the Hustle platform in general. Really good tech behind it. The process will be really, really smooth. I think the community will enjoy the experience when they migrate. And then, like Jake said, I'm sure that he'll cover it later, but the teams that do migrate through the Hustle tooling, a percentage of that fee will be going to buy back the Hustle token. So good incentives all around and a really good product, but excited to dive in a little bit more.
Yep. So we covered kind of the problem, but just kind of go through it again, which is in the documentation, launching through Pump Fund, launching through Believe app or some of these other areas on Solana. The token LP is inaccessible to the creators. We've seen like Pump Swap and Believe and some of these other ones try to combat that and give a portion of the LP fees. But here in Migrate.fun, if you move from one contract to another, the creators get the entire LP fee. So the entire 0.25% will be using Radium pools for that nature. So the users will get access to all of the rewards, and after a brief lockup period, they will get access to the LP pool themselves, like the keys. So we believe like the creators should have full control of that. Obviously, that comes with some trust, because if somebody is migrating their token, right, and there's a 90-day lockup period, maybe we might extend it to 180, and they have access to the pool, they can literally, essentially pull the entire LP pool. So you want to make sure that these people are trustworthy, that are setting up these migrations so that you have some sort of legitimacy. And to be completely honest, before the meme coin era, locking up the LP pool was like not a thing that existed. Like it was like all project founders had access to the LP pool. They could have essentially pulled it at any point in time, but I think that actually gives a lot more trust between the community and the creators.
I mean, I think it's worthy in when it's a meme coin and it's got no team necessarily behind it and stuff. Totally understandable to lock it up. But yeah, with this new kind of wave of, ICOs 2.0, yeah, for teams to have liquidity or access to it, it seems to make sense.
Yep. And then the token treasury, which we will kind of cover here in a little bit, as well as one issue that we face specifically is the permanent metadata, right? The issue, obviously, once you launch a smart contract, you can't change the ticker. That's like hard coded, but there's ways to change the metadata. And right, we've gone through 3 different rebrandings for Agent Hustle, and we're stuck with the initial image. And I went through all different angles, trying to reach out to Pump Fund, to Jupiter, to whatever. Essentially, Pump Fund controls that. They won't allow you to change it. So you're kind of stuck with this branding issue. So we're giving creators control over being able to change the image of the metadata as, long-term projects go through various forms of rebranding. That icon is very important so that users feel, more confident in purchasing the token. So if you go to Migrate.fun right now, you'll see a countdown. July 1st is when we will be diving through. When the migration begins on July 1st. So you'll be able to go to the website. It's a very simple process. It's literally like 2-3 clicks or 1 click. It's like literally similar to a swap experience. Come in, move your assets, and you're done. And so to kind of dive in a little bit more, there's 2 types of migrations that are going to be on this platform. Agent Hustle will be going through one of them, and then I suspect the fellow creators will be using the other one. So for Agent Hustle specifically, because I don't want to confuse people, what's going to happen is you're going to go into Migrate.fun. You're going to see there's a swap module for the Tensorium token to Hustle. You literally come in, hit max, and migrate your tokens over. And then you have the same amount, 1-to-1 redeemed. It's just going to be the same supply, 1 billion. And for our situation, we are actually going to have a liquidity pool set up immediately. So you'll be able to trade the Hustle token immediately upon redemption. There may be some rewards as well for potentially the first people through the door or something else. We will announce that on the 1st. So just want to continue the speculation, but also don't want to give too many advantages or people to try to figure out how to game all of this stuff. So my recommendation would be when the portal opens, migrate it, and everything will be solved. There will be liquidity, but so there was a few questions we had on how does all of this work. And if you go into the press release, there's a project admin guide and a user migration guide. So if you're somebody who wants to migrate Tensor to Hustle, or if you're curious how it works, you could go ahead and read the docs. And then also, if you're somebody listening to this who has a token that wants to migrate it or is interested, you could read the project admin guide to go through how to set up the migration. And I'll cover that here at the end. I just want to kind of get through the Hustle explanation because that's the priority. That's why this was built. So when a user comes in, and this is kind of like the key aspect here. So I'm going to explain this. Maybe it has some shock value of how it all works, but there's going to be a time period for people to migrate. So the time period will be revealed on the 1st. This is why I recommend to be the first one through the door. So there's going to be this time period. And at the end of the time period, users will not be able to, migrate. And so once the migration period ends, there's going to be all of this tensorium in this vault, which is it's in a smart contract. So let's say 50% of the tensorium is migrated. The team then takes that 50% of the supply and basically sells down all of the tokens, essentially setting the chart to 0. And I see a few people have said that the migration guide is 404. So I have to notify the dev to make both of those public. So I will go ahead and notify him on that. And right, this is going to add some shock value here, right? So at some point, within the contract ending or the migration ending, the tensorium chart's going to essentially go to 0. And why are we doing that? Is because we're taking and recovering all of the locked SOL that's in the liquidity pool. So right now there's approximately $150,000 in SOL. And really all you need is like 20% to recover all of it. But there's going to be an automated component to this that takes all of the locked tensorium, sells it down, and we recover that SOL. And then that SOL is then paired with the new token and creates an LP. That's on the automated component. But we're setting up the LP to start. So we're basically preceding the LP with funds, and then we get that back through the SOL. And so basically, what this opens up is a market where there's 3 million SOL locked in pump fund contracts. So that's $500 million in SOL that's locked forever.
Crazy.
But you can use this now method that's automated to migrate your token, recover the SOL, and use it in a new liquidity pool, essentially unlocking that $500 million market. As well as there's some fun CTO type aspects that I'll dive into. And so then the final component of this is what happens to the non-migrated tokens. So if only 50% of the tokens of Tensor tokens are migrated to Hustle, right? What happens to the other 50% of the Hustle? Well, that's going to be up to the team. Basically how the migration is going to work is the team will then get back all of the unclaimed tokens, right? That's how you build the treasury. And it's going to be up to the team to decide what they want to do with it. For the Hustle team, it's going to go towards incentives and operations. We're going to really dive into tokenomics, which is what everybody wants, right? You can't do tokenomics with less than 5% of the supply. You just can't do staking, rewards. You can't do airdrops. You can't do points programs. Right? You can't do any of that without a token supply. So there's a lot of things that we can do, right? Obviously, you have to trust the team if the team has a larger supply. But that's literally how it worked before meme coins. Like that's literally how it's always been. So we're not inflating the supply. It's 1-to-1. And then any of the non-migrated tokens will go back to the team to be used for incentives and operations. Obviously, we're going to be very transparent about it, as we've been with literally everything so far. So we want to make sure that we all win. And for a lot of people in the community, supply control is how you add value to the token. One of the main issues with pump fund tokens is that having 100% of the supply distributed means that you have to buy and sell a lot more, right, to make the price go up, essentially. And so, only having whatever the number is on the market obviously can help to that and add to speculation, and everyone essentially kind of wins. So that's kind of the component there. Adam, would you like to answer any of these questions on the live stream or add any type of comments?
Well, I mean, Maverick's like reference links incoming. I don't know if we're talking about that yet. I don't know.
You can answer questions. Fine.
Okay. So the idea is that this is going to be a part of a larger tokenomic system, which will include referral links to earn rewards and stuff. Absolutely. Step by step. Don't want to give away all the sauce at one time, right? But yes, interesting stuff is definitely going to happen around this. Pretty excited about that for sure. Pretty excited now that we've got Hustle really built out and more robust. to just have a lot more users. You know, having 300 daily active users is great. It's actually pretty impressive for DeFi AI, but we all know that we need thousands and tens of thousands of users. And I think once people get a hold of the conditional trading and see what's actually happening, the trading will be able to all happen on Hustle right on platform. And once that happens, revenue happens, and we can do all sorts of really, really interesting stuff with rewarding the community and early adopters.
It seems like the market likes the announcement. Tensorium is up 22% in the last 6 hours, 20% in the last hour since the announcement. So that's awesome to hear that people are buying into the vision of what's going on. Somebody else says, hi guys, are there plans to add new utility features to the token? Yes, there is. We did just go over that. So a lot of that will be dictated to, you know, how many people participate in the migration. That's literally, so we're going to have to wait and see. I hope there's a large turnout. You know, it's migrations go a handful of different ways. The Emblem team has gone through a handful of migrations. None of them are ever the same. So this will be the first one we're doing on Solana. System Trader says, what's the forecast on initial market cap? I don't know. The market determines that. There's nothing really that we can decide outside of continuing to build. Soul Maverick says, just excited to see Hustle. Nothing against Tensor, but Hustle fits more. Solid team, always delivering. Love to see what you guys take in this future. Yeah,
Next.
we completely agree as well. Yeah. Well, one of the questions has been, why is the token called Tensorium? You know, it's actually a good question. So when we launched Tensorium in November, the AI that we were building internally was more of like a personal project for our founder. And he'd asked the AI what the token, what he wanted the token to be called. And it was kind of just launched as an experiment and anonymously on Pump Fun. And somehow they figured out that Shannon launched it. I think they traced like his wallets and then found his GitHub, and the token took off, right? Literally within like an hour of kind of launching it. So we were kind of caught at surprise. And I don't think there was a realization that there was another Tensor token that was much larger on Solana. This was kind of our first foray into Solana, the Solana ecosystem. Emblem had been building on Bitcoin and ETH for the last 10 years, since 2016. So there was a lot of issues, right, that obviously kind of messed with the discovery component of it. But now what we have to do from a migration standpoint, there's a lot of kind of pain points, and I will call on you here in a second, Power Bridge. So just let me walk through this real quick. There's a lot of backend stuff that has to go through with the migration. A lot of people don't realize, right? We have to give the contract address to cookie.fun, right? To kind of rebrand that. You have to get in touch with Kaido. You have to set up new coin market caps. You have to send the migration stuff over. And all of that stuff is not in our hands, right? Like we can only tell them the information. We can't force them to do it. Setting up new deck screeners and all of this stuff. So, you know, we hope the community is somewhat patient with that, because a lot of that stuff is not in our hands. But we will need help with the Jupiter verification now that they have a voting system. So once the new token is live, you know, you'll see the contract address and stuff on the first. And yeah, we'll need the community to help us support the listings and stuff in certain areas. But it is a gigantic pain in the ass.
Already, it's a pain in the ass. And well, this is we get to kind of live it again, but at least this time the image and all that sort of stuff will be right this time. So that's an easier lift than it was last time, and we've been through it, so it should be relatively painless compared to last time.
Yeah, I completely agree as well. So I did ask our dev to make the docs public, so I'm kind of just waiting on him to figure that. It is quite extensive documentation. It's more about the process, less about kind of the code base. So kind of what happens after the Hustle migration, I'll dive into that, and then I'll call on the hands and everyone that's been waiting kind of patiently on stage. So I mentioned there's two types of migrations, right? There's what we call the bring your own LP migration, which is what we're doing. This is for teams that have, a little bit of capital that can kind of create a, frictionless trading experience. But for most of these teams, right, they're new to the space. They have limited tokens, limited treasuries. We saw recently there's two different AI projects that shut down. One called Magicat that specifically for this issue of pump fund. So we know the treasure, like setting up your own LP is not an option. So we have this automated version that is completely 100% autonomous. What the user does in the flow, and you'll see this in the docs once they're public, the user will come in, they'll put in the information for the old token. So which token are you migrating? They will then come in the platform, create the new token. So they'll come in and create it's called the SPL 2022 token. That's the fungible token standard. Excuse me. They'll put in the, name, ticker, and image for it. And then after that, 100% of the token supply of the new contract is sent into something called a vault, right? And so then after that, it's then up to the users of that community to come in and basically allocate their tokens to this migration that is then put inside of a vault. And the contract creator creates a timeline. So for example, if I want to migrate, I'm just going to use a token, random token name, right? Like old pump fund token. The creator will then come in and say that there's a 1 week migration period. So all the users will come in and, basically dedicate or allocate or commit their tokens into this vault. And once the time period ends, let's say there's 20% of the token supply migrated, those 20% of the old token then sells down the old token as far down as it can and recovers SOL out of that lock liquidity pool. And then all of that SOL that's in the liquidity pool or that's recovered is then paired with the equal amount of the new token, which then creates a new liquidity pool on Raydium. And then any unclaimed tokens is then given to the creator after a lockup period, right? To ensure that they're not just going to immediately dump on you. And then it's a fresh start. The user or the person who set up the creator or who set up the migration, they get the new tokens in their treasury supply. They get the rewards immediately from the liquidity pool. And after a lockup period, they will have access to the LP itself. And it's completely automated. The user doesn't really have to do anything after that. And we're excited to, work with Raydium on this as they're the LP provider to, help projects get a fresh start. One other kind of thing here, if you're not a project and you want to have a lot of fun, you can actually kind of consider this like a vampire attack on liquidity pools. I know that's kind of like a not so great word to throw around, but this is kind of where the fun comes in. So I'll use an example here. So let's take like one of the largest liquidity pools out there, which is the Trump coin, which has like 300 million in liquidity. If you have a large community and you rally people to create a new token, maybe you want to call it anti-Trump token, right? You could come in, put the Trump liquidity pool in, create a new contract for anti-Trump, and people can commit the old or the Trump token into this LP. And let's say you get 2-3% of the supply in there, right? You're then going to sell 3% of the supply, basically market sell it. You're going to get probably a lot of SOL, and that will be used into the liquidity pool. And you have a new community who then has the Trump tokens for everyone who migrated, right? So you can have this kind of, you can actually like spawn new tokens off of other tokens based off of basically doing a live CTO, essentially. You're CTOing a liquidity pool instead of kind of a token. So there's a lot of different angles to it. It's a lot of fun. And, we're going to see where it goes, but $500 million in locked liquidity, and then obviously billions of dollars in liquidity all over the place. So really, really insane upside potential if this takes off. Envy says, I get a 404 click on documentation. Yeah, I know. I've pinged the dev. He hasn't responded to me yet. I had asked him to make sure, or I had asked him to make sure that they're public. So kind of just waiting on that. They've been cooking on the platform itself. Saul Maverick says, taking notes. Who can I vampire? right? This we'll continue to
I mean,
educate.
this is where it could get really fun, dude. Like seriously, like some of these meme coin communities, you can imagine, you know, the top whatever 20% of holders are like, fuck this, let's take it and do another. Let's get our own contract going, and you know, all kinds of crazy shit can happen there. It could get wild.
Yeah, let's have everyone vampire Melania because they hate the token, right? And there's a lot of liquidity. The cool part is this platform can also be cross-chain as well. So if you're an ETH contract and want to migrate to Solana, that is entirely possible. If you're on Base and you want to move to Solana, entirely possible. If we move to ETH LP pools, you could do, you know, Solana to Base or Solana to Abstract or whatever you want. So there's like a sign up list in the press release at the very bottom. You could just go ahead and sign up for that, or just DM me or Adam, and you know, we can go through the kind of conversations there. So I would like to call on PowerBridge, who's been waiting patiently on stage. Thanks for hanging out. Do you have any questions about the platform or any comments on the conversation?
I do. Thank you for taking my question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got you.
All right, awesome. I love the project. I love the idea. A nice pivot from the community. Sorry about the motorcycle.
All good.
All right. For the most part, I have a question about the advancements for the robots that have been taken over Pump Fund, and if you have any kind of, I guess, idea for the community on how to navigate away from those MEV bots, because that's basically where the pump is going. With Pump Fund and the liquidity, it's probably 8 milliseconds before a bot takes over the liquidity, and it doesn't matter if it's 2 million, 3 million, 20 million. As soon as they find it, it's gone. And so there's really no avenue without AI, without the bots launching with hidden liquidity or advanced liquidity options to kind of defend against those MEV bots. Do you have something brewing in the lab for that? Because that's going to get our attention.
Well, you're talking about an initial launch. You're talking about at initial launch.
Not just at initial launch, because once you start brewing up these contracts and get a few of the transactions going, they're going to be copied by AI and understood quickly. And so from there, when you talk about vampire attacks, of course, but most of these AI are trained very, very well for this exact maneuver. And so that's where I'm trying to figure out if you all have an advanced, the documentation. That's the other part. I don't want to, get too deep into the question without being able to get to it. Yep. You said the dev is going to have that available very soon.
Yeah, it was supposed to be public. It looks like he left it on private because I could see it from my side. So I'm just waiting on his response to make them public. So I could just kind of explain from our platform. So essentially, it's a one-way bridge. So that eliminates a lot of the arbitrage opportunities that these AIs do. Also, if it's a bot and you're migrating, this is kind of where the token repossession comes in, because a lot of bots are not following the accounts, right? They're just looking for liquidity movements. So I do speculate there's a possibility to trick some of these bots. As people migrate, the bot then buys up the old token, and you can essentially kind of sell on the bots because they're not really paying attention to what's going on from the social side of things until they kind of understand the platform. So there's really no way to like come in and for them to snipe the new token because it is a one-way bridge. And if you're doing the automated version, there's no way to basically buy up the liquidity, like the tokens that exist in the liquidity pool, because the liquidity pool is not created until the migration is complete. So it really all happens in one kind of fell swoop. It's like very similar to the kind of Radium Pump Fund bonding curve situation, where once you hit a certain level, right, the LP pool is deployed. So in this situation, it's, you get a bunch of tokens that are committed to a migration, and once that commitment time expires, the tokens are then sold off for SOL, and then the SOL is paired with the new token, and the LP pool is created, and the tokens are delivered to the new user. So it really all kind of happens in one experience. I guess there could be the situation where, like, if somebody creates a migration and that old token has a bunch of bundles, right, where kind of one cohort owns 80%, they could kind of commit that entire position to the migration and then basically control or have the same control over the newer token. It's just the owner has more control over their liquidity pool and potentially some tokens that they've got back. So I guess that's one situation we'd have to figure out is how to prevent bundles from coming in and basically taking over the new token. I think that's actually like a pretty fair concern. So I hope, did I answer all of your questions? Outside of that, like in terms of preventing sniping from happening, like it's not relevant to the Migrate.fun platform, at least yet.
Okay. No, you answered very well, and I appreciate that. And I'll take the time to go over the documents when they're available. But I just wanted to see from that perspective because I do understand the liquidity pinch that happens, and even with a founder's perspective of being able to produce some level of liquidity on that first launch or even through a migration process to pay for fees, there's going to be exposure. And so I would like to work with you all or kind of understand how the dev is moving this so I can kind of move my token safely. And I appreciate that.
Awesome. Yeah, shoot me a DM. We can chat and we'll kind of dive into it. I know there's a handful of people that are interested. So really just shoot me or Adam a DM or the Agent Hustle account. We could kind of dive into it. We are launching with Agent Hustle first, and then we'll probably have a cohort of builders who want to migrate together to kind of go through it. But it'd be great to kind of understand the different reasonings, right? Because every migration's different. Again, like as an Emblem Vault team, Emblem's gone through 3 or 4 different token migrations in its 10-year history. From kind of just to give the example, from 2014 to 2016, it moved from a single blockchain to on Counterparty on Bitcoin. And then in 2019, moved from Bitcoin to ETH. And now in 2025, it's moving from ETH back to Bitcoin. We've also done a 50,000 NFT migration from the Emblem Legacy collection to basically 60 different NFT smart contracts from one. So we've done quite an extensive amount, probably done the most migrations by 2 or 3 times comparative to any team. So through all of those experiences, every migration has a different kind of reasoning. So just understanding that from the project creator side or even kind of from the CTO side really kind of helps.
Okay. I mean, I appreciate it because from my perspective, it'd be a whole host of strategies just to ensure like these transactions gain volume and the community does have that trust behind it. The LP migration with shared control models that definitely supports a better understanding because even from a safe perspective, once these wallets get scanned for certain activities, they're flagged for honeypots, they're flagged for rug pulls, and that's not necessarily the case. And so there needs to be that background metadata trust that's there that shows that we went through a process of validation and there is control in that aspect of quality.
Oh, that is interesting. Yeah. So there's kind of some social validation aspects to it to ensure.
Correct.
That is, yeah, that is interesting.
The part that I'm looking at, it's all the other metadata and stats that come with who's owning this token and who's moving it.
Yeah, I mean that immediately was what my mind went to, is that you can have whole groups of scammers who just come in and say, "Hey, we're moving this token," right, and then they just drain the liquidity pool and stuff like that. But we've thought through like lockup periods and stuff like that to try to make it at least at the minimum as transparent as possible, right? But yeah, there's good point and well taken. Absolutely.
Yeah. So one of our initial idea is to do, so once like a migration is complete and there's a new liquidity pool, you make the rewards of the LP immediately accessible, and then you have a lockup on the actual control of the LP. Right now, we're looking into 90 days to 180 days of that lockup, right? That's so you ensure that the creator of the migration is not going to rug pull the liquidity. But at some point, we do need to give them access to it because that's kind of the whole point of this, is to be able to control your own funds. So obviously, there's going to be some trust there between the community. And obviously, we don't want to make that lockup period too long as well for XYZ reasons. And that's why it's good to have these type of conversations to understand what is going on. And we also, too, from a metadata standpoint, there will be metadata control. So you could change the icon of the token if you want to rebrand. That's like one of the main reasons for us is rebranding into a new project. And then if you need to rebrand again after there's a new token, you'll have the, I think it's called like metadata approval or metadata update or something of that nature.
Okay. I mean, I look forward to it. I'll reach out to you in the DMs. I appreciate it.
Cool. Appreciate it. I just gave you a follow so we can stay in touch. So System Trader on the live stream says, are the new hustle tokens are also locked? Right. So this is kind of part of the first experiment for us. There's 3,000 holders of the Tensorium token. From my experiences through different migrations, whether it's NFTs or whether it's fungible tokens, generally the kind of the top percentage participation is generally around 70 to 80%. I think the most participant migration I've ever seen is actually the DeGods migration back to Solana, which I think was around like 85 or 90%. But generally these things will range anywhere between 40 to 80%. So we're going to kind of find out and see how many people are paying attention. It's interesting on Solana because the attention span is so short that most people are generally online 24/7. So you think that more people are actually paying attention to this than like people on Bitcoin or ETH who only look at their wallet, every few days or maybe every few weeks. But we're going to give people proper notice. And what happens with the hustle tokens? Obviously, we want to build tokenomics. But first, you got to kind of see what the participation is. And generally with migrations, generally the first like week is generally like more than 50% of the token participation. And it's also interesting to hear with creators. If they want to go through the migration, do you set it to 100 days? Do you set it to a year? Do you set it to 30 days? Do you set it to 2 weeks?
Hours, bro.
Do you set it to a 24-hour sprint?
Like a 24-hour. Let's do 24 hours and go crazy. We answer about hustle tokens will not be locked. System Trader, if Jake didn't mention that.
Yeah, so that's the trust on the team, right? So if only 50% of people participate, right, then there's going to be 50% in the emblem treasury. And then it's like, what do we do with that? Obviously, part of that is in the tokenomics, right? There's a variety of things you could do. You could burn tokens, you can airdrop them, you can do some sort of staking, you can, do different types of rewards. So, we'll see. Like it really
that might be actually to the previous. I'm sorry, my screen's messed up, so I can't see your name. But to the kind of previous point, it could be interesting too. Something for us to think about is if, say, a community wanted to migrate a token, and X number of tokens weren't migrated, we could programmatically say, okay, those are going to be evenly distributed amongst the people who did migrate. So a system like that, to System Trader's point, could be really, really interesting and automate that process. So you don't have to worry about the team doing an airdrop later and stuff like that.
Yeah, it is a good point. And that's why we have to have these conversations individually to understand what the requirements are, right? If it's kind of like a CTO vampire attack on liquidity, then that is probably a more approachable point, right? Where you want everyone participating. Where if it's an infrastructure project or long-term project like Hustle, obviously the team needs to use those tokens in some capacity for tokenomics per se, also for runway and funding. You need them for exchange listings, right? There's like a whole variety of things to go forward. So, and if anyone else has questions, feel free to come up on stage. I think we've been answering the majority of them. But Chris, if you have any input on this, would love to hear. And also still waiting on the dev. He must just be literally heads down figuring this out.
Maybe he's sleeping. Who knows?
You got to call the actual self. We got to actually make a phone call.
Super excited to see the progress here. Good to remember like why we got here, and kind of innovation is sparked by necessity, kind of thing. And obviously we talk about Agent Hustle every single day. We sell Agent Hustle every single day, and we build Agent Hustle every single day. And when you go and you try and put size on a token, and you go to Bird Eye and it has a completely different name and a completely different logo from the token from the project, it's dislocated in such a way that just not enticing to the community. So the community has been asking for us to find a fix for this for months. We knew it was a friction point, and so we had to brainstorm what was the best way that we can all win. and kind of bring this to market. And this is kind of the culmination of months of that talk and that progress. So we knew that if we had the issue, that others were going to have the issue as well, and that's definitely the case. I mean, you look at even Ethereum migrated from proof of work to proof of stake. So there's the goals and the ambitions of your project when you begin are not always the goals and the ambitions of the project as you kind of mature and grow. And so sometimes these things are extremely necessary. So giving access to the liquidity pool and the rewards of the LP2 teams that are working hard and communities that are working hard is actually like a really, really big game changer. Yep. So I'm excited to kind of, scope out all the other projects and see a bunch of other projects get through the door. And, when they're migrating a lot of this supply, millions of dollars in their supply through the platform, and a couple percentage fee of that is going to buy the Hustle token. That's a pretty big win for the Hustle community. So I think that that's kind of overlooked in general. And lastly, I know that a lot of people are nervous about going through migrations. Always, people are always nervous when anything comes to moving tokens or trying something new. It's definitely always a bit nerve-wracking, but it'll be a really simple process. That was the whole goal of the platform, was to make it as seamless and simple as possible. So it'll be one click confirmation, you're done. It'll be a pretty fun experience, super easy, and then you'll have your Hustle tokens on the other side. So just know that we've put hundreds of hours of thought and build time into this exact platform, on top of the Hustle platform building and thought that we already do. So pretty serious release here from the team. And I think that, the reactions have been pretty stellar. So excited to get my Hustle tokens in my wallet.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. So I actually pinned up to the top. There's a project that was called Top Hat. I think it's called Top Hat, who literally had this exact issue. And they just announced that they're winding down their operations. And you could see the quote in the post is specifically because they launched on Pump Fund, because they had no treasury, because they had no access to the rewards, and they were completely self-funding it, that they had to wind down operations. I obviously reached out to them, but it might be a little bit too late. So, these issues do exist. I expect, there's probably hundreds of these people and teams out there. And then obviously the fun aspect of it, of CTOing meme coins and stuff like that, probably goes on forever. So some trader says, what do you think is the reason no team before had started something like this? Because you say it's pretty simple. Well, it's not simple actually at all.
We meant the interface will be simple for the user.
Hopefully it'll be simple for the end user, not simple from a tech perspective.
Yeah, from a building standpoint. This is literally, I've been in the space since 2016. So is Chris and Adam. Our founders have been in the space since 2012. So we've kind of gone through this many times. Emblem has a history, again, of migrations. So it's just taking decades of experience and trying to intertwine it into one, and then realizing that just a lot of individuals face the same issue there. So we're going to continue to grow it. We're going to continue to have fun. I'm excited too, if there's really a big demand, the cross-chain capabilities of moving, from ETH to Sol, or from whatever the case is, from SUI over to Sol, or building these kind of things. For us, it's like you just have to build a I think it's like a signer for moving across chains. So it's actually like not that difficult of a lift, and can really, really be a really fun and capable kind of platform. So if there are no other questions, I'm kind of at the end of this. I still haven't heard back from the dev, but those documents will be public. I'll post it from the Agent Hustle account. So please make sure you're following Agent Hustle, who is on stage there. And then there is a Migrate.fun Twitter account as well. So we'll be kind of posting from both. And then I will obviously be posting about this as well as the team does. And once the docs are live, we'll, share it with everybody. And I look forward to July 1st. That's when we begin the Tensorium to Agent Hustle migration. And we'll continue to have conversations with different teams who would like to participate. And we'll get a first cohort out. And then after that, it'll just be public for anyone to participate. And we'll continue to update, as I do believe this is probably the first migration platform. I generally try to say that pretty lightly, but I don't remember seeing any that exist. If there are any that have exist, I'd love to kind of see how they went about it to a degree. Because now with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of tokens issuing per day, right? This kind of issue just becomes more and more relevant. So I appreciate everyone. Really just reach out to myself or Adam or the Agent Hustle account if there's something that you're interested in. I look forward with PowerBridge to talk with you as well as any of the other builders in the space. Also shout out to the Radium team who really just loved the idea when we talked with them, and look forward to working with them as they're the official LP of the platform. And at some point, you know, we're starting with standard pools. Maybe we'll move over to the CLLMs and any type of other ideas that exist. Until then, please follow the Agent Hustle account as well as everyone on stage. I appreciate everyone. Really, really cool opportunity. We'll see you guys July 1st, and everyone have a fun and safe weekend on this Thursday. We'll see you guys soon.
Later, guys.
Later.